Well, happy holidays, everyone. What an incredibly beautiful, festive event this is. I really want to thank you for including us in your program tonight. It's really an honor to be able to spend some time talking to you about something that Amy Armstrong and we as well are incredibly passionate about. So I was thinking a little bit about the holiday season. And for me, this season is all about gratitude and giving. And so while I was reflecting on this season, I've been thinking about the gift that I receive each day to work for an institution that is undeniably committed to its students. And I was preparing for tonight, I realized that you partner with us, but you often don't get that same gift. You rarely get to see the impact of your contributions. So in honor of the season, we've chosen to highlight a set of programs as illustrated through one student's personal story to walk you through what I get to experience every day, which is to see firsthand how college education can be truly transformational. So, as Amy mentioned, I serve as Vice Dean for the College of Public Service and Community Solutions, which now bears the name Watts due to the generous gift from Mike and Cindy Watts. Thank you, Mike and Cindy. I've been at ASU for over 15 years, but prior to coming here, I worked in social work practice with young people who were in foster care. So during that time, I saw firsthand the pain and the trauma that young people involved in child welfare can experience for no fault of their own. I remember one young man who asked me to adopt him after being abandoned by his parents at 12 years old, and another who spent the holidays at our residential center because he had no family to go home to. So, despite being exposed to some very sad and difficult things, I want you to know that at the same time, I also had the incredible privilege of seeing stories of resilience that literally emerged right before my eyes. I saw the strength of human spirit, the capacity for growth, and I also saw great potential that could be lost if it wasn't cultivated. So I became deeply passionate about the concept of resilience, and I came to ASU to advance a research agenda focused on helping to understand how we can activate the process of coping, adaptation, and growth for young people and their families. So now, while resilience is a complex constellation of many factors, what has been demonstrated in research time and time again is that achieving a college education is indeed one of the best ways to transform the life of a young person. This is true for all of us, but it has greater meaning when a young person ages out of the foster care system, and that means that they turned 18 at the point that they were in foster care without often family, a support network, or a plan for their future. So research suggests that 80% of foster youth wish to pursue a college education, yet less than 20% are able to attend college and less than 10% end up graduating. So while college is transformational, it is for the vast majority of young people in foster care simply out of reach. So 5 years ago, several units across ASU decided to step up to address this challenging problem. Arizona had just passed Senate Bill 1208 at that point, and so that's the legislation that many of you know about that would provide a tuition waiver to one of Arizona's state universities or community colleges so that young people who aged out of the foster care system could pursue post-secondary education. However, it's important for you to know that this waiver was an unfunded mandate, meaning it did not come with any increased budget allocation to these institutions. So at that point, we served a very small number of former foster youth at ASU, and so honestly, it would not have been irrational to continue business as usual, to serve a small number of these students considering there would be no additional resources. But for those of us at ASU to not reach, recruit, and support this population would be entirely inconsistent with our charter and frankly contrary to the heart and soul of this university. Indeed, we created a set of services across the university to encourage increased attendance of former foster youth through targeted recruitment efforts, and we worked to increase the support of these students, knowing that they would come with special and unique needs. Our resolve was clear, but remember, this was an unfunded mandate, so how did we accomplish this? What's important for you all to know is that 100% of these efforts were supported through philanthropic investment by many of you in the room today. I should mention that the initial support for former foster youth at ASU does predate the tuition waiver, something that Amy mentioned earlier. The Armstrong Family Foundation and the Nina Legacy Scholars Program have supported hundreds of students for just around 20 years at this point, most of whom have a background in foster care. And so these programs in many ways set the stage for what was to come. Then 5 years ago, Watts College started Bridging Success with the strong support of our dean, Jonathan Coppell. Bridging Success is a program funded by Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust, and its sole mission is to recruit former foster youth at ASU and to then work with them to ensure that once they come to us, that they can succeed. Then shortly thereafter, University College, with the support of Dean Dwayne Rowan, started an Early Start program to work with these students during the summer. Before they started at ASU to help their transition to college, that program was initially supported by Women in Philanthropy. At this point, we were achieving real momentum. Units across the university were leaning in. Financial aid was a huge partner to us, as was housing and our counseling services. A few years later, First Star was started out of EOS, which is the student services arm of the university. First Star works with high school students in foster care to better expose and prepare them for college. ASU Prep Digital has gotten involved, is now looking at how they can create a more consistent education experience for high school students who are in foster care. I am incredibly fortunate to serve as PI for the Bridging Success Grant, and I have watched this effort connect every unit across this university, and I have never felt a greater pride to be a part of ASU as I have in watching the number of people who have stepped up to provide access and ensure success of the most underprivileged population that we serve. Young people who grow up in foster care face some issues, and so they have a higher likelihood than the general population of needing public assistance, of becoming homeless, of becoming incarcerated, and of becoming involved in the child welfare system as a parent themselves. Yet for those who achieve a college degree, the story is quite different. This opportunity is truly transformational for them, for future generations, and for their communities. So I'm now proud to invite Brianna Carpenter to join me on the stage. Every day that I get to work with students like Bree, I am gifted. I'm gifted with the opportunity to see firsthand the power of education. At this holiday event, we would like to give you a window into just one story of transformation so that you too can be gifted tonight with encouragement, inspiration, and hope. Please welcome Brianna Carpenter to the stage. So Bree, I'm really excited to spend some time talking to you about how it was that you came to ASU, and then how you spent your time with us. And I think this group of folks are going to be interested to hear your story. Could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm super honored and excited to be here. So as Amy and Dean Lietz mentioned, I am a graduate student here at the university. I studied social work and am still studying social work, and I have a really strong passion and interest in child welfare, particularly because I myself and my younger siblings spent time in foster care as well. So when I was about 15, my father was incarcerated my whole life, and I had really little sisters. So at the time, they were 9 months old and 9. And my mom struggled with a really strong substance addiction. And so at that point, we entered foster care, and that really launched my passion for social work.
So yet you found yourself, contrary to many of the odds, at ASU. Can you talk a little bit about how you got to ASU?
Yeah. Largely due to the support and encouragement of my high school guidance counselor and really my teachers along the way. College was not encouraged at home. It was probably discouraged. As I mentioned, my sisters were really little. And so when I was getting ready to think about college, the youngest one was 3 at that time, and I was their primary caregiver. And so the youngest one actually would refer to me as mom because she didn't know any better. And so to my grandparents who cared for us, the thought of me leaving and them taking responsibility for my sisters was not exciting for them. So it wasn't something encouraged at home, and no one else in my family had ever done it, so it wasn't something that we talked about. So I really made it here due to the support and efforts of my high school teachers and guidance counselors.
Well, I am incredibly grateful that guidance counselors and teachers in high school would encourage a very talented young woman like you, because what you have accomplished during your time at ASU is really impressive. I want to take you back to the week that you were sort of preparing to move into Taylor Place, the residential hall at the downtown campus. Try to get yourself back to that moment and talk to us about what you were thinking or feeling as you were anticipating moving into the residence hall.
I was thinking, oh my gosh, I want to go home. I actually was pretty resistant to living in the dorms. My sisters were really little and I didn't want to leave them. I'm going to share this story with the Armstrongs. I've shared this with them before. So I walked into that scholarship interview with the entire Armstrong family, and Jim Armstrong, as I'm sitting across the table, says, "So what dorm are you living in?" And I said, I'm going to commute. I'm not going to live on campus. And he said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, I have little sisters and I care for them." And he cut me off halfway and said, "That's great, but this is about you. So we want you to live on campus. We think this is really important to your success." And then I pivoted and said, "Well, it's really expensive." And then he said, "Great, we'll pay for it." And so I said, "Okay, I'm moving to Taylor Place." So I was pretty resistant, and it was a quick decision, but I remember being incredibly anxious and really scared. So this decision to move off campus was definitely going to change my life, but it was also drastically going to impact my sisters. So at the point of moving in, I was going to be removing the one person that they were safe with. And that was scary for me. And move-in wasn't this exciting event that I think most traditional students go through. So my grandparents waved at me as I left the driveway and packed all of my things into my little Chevy Cavalier. And I moved myself in. And it was hot. It was a Saturday morning and it was early. And it just wasn't this exciting event, I think, that traditional students have. And so I was really nervous and anxious. And I can remember the first night in the dorm, I actually woke up in the middle of the night in a panic, like, this isn't my house. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. And I was on the 7th floor. So I took the 7 stairs down to the outside to get some air because I was really anxious that night. So it was pretty daunting, I think, that first week.
So I think about, for all of our students, it's an exciting but can be a scary transition, and many are saying goodbye to families and feeling sad about that and feeling nervous and meeting new people. So having some stress associated with move-in makes sense. But we also anticipated that folks that have a foster care background might have some unique and special needs. Would you agree that there's some things that you face that maybe your roommate and the folks down the hall didn't go through?
Absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, it wasn't this exciting thing. So as everyone, I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen Move-In Weekend. It's actually incredible, but it moves very quickly, and there's all these families that come in, and people unload your car and get you up into your room. And I can remember the moment when they said, "Okay, we're gonna unload your car. Have your parents go park your car while we take you up to your room." And I was like, I'm here with my own car, and so no one can go park my car. I need to do this. Yeah. And I think for youth who experience group homes, a dorm is very similar to living in a residential treatment center or a group home or things like that too. So I think it can also be triggering for some youth.
I think these are some of the unique things that we might not anticipate, that we might not think about, and it's so important for us to understand the experience of students like Bree and how we can come around and help them. So this is exactly why we have, by the way, we have incredible services at ASU already, and many of our students who have a foster care background use those services as well. But we felt that some services needed to be informed with the unique situation that Bree is describing. So I wondered if you could talk now to this group about some of the services that helped you get ready for move-in and then in your transition, particularly that first year of college.
Yeah, so I participated in the Bridging Success Early Start, which was the week-long program that happened before the week before move-in. And that was a very programmed week of lectures from different people, learning about financial aid, learning about different scholarships. We went over budgets. We learned where things were on campus. So it was actually really helpful to get a chance to understand the physical campus too before students got there and to know where we were going. But that week also connected me to students who had a very similar background. So they had all experienced foster care themselves, and we had all kind of commiserated about our anxiety starting that year. And then when we moved in, there were people that I already knew, which was nice. And then throughout the actual academic year, I participated in the Bridging Success program, which was pretty instrumental in having a person on campus that could reach out to other departments when the university was so large, I didn't know even where to start. And so the program director was really helpful in making sure that my residency status was where it needed to be and who I needed to contact to get financial aid dispersed or things like that. And then, as mentioned, I'm an Armstrong Scholar, and so the Armstrong family really provides the familial support. So I think that Bridging Success provides a lot of the nuts and bolts related to navigating the university, but the Armstrong family was really gracious in meeting us once a month. We had volunteer projects and things like that, but also I think, as Amy mentioned, we view them just as much a family as they view us. And so we had Canadian Thanksgiving together and holiday brunch. We just had our holiday brunch on Sunday. So over the last 5 years, and particularly that first year, their family served as a strong familial support system for us as well.
So Early Start helped you to build a community with other students who understood what you were going through, you could understand what they were going through. The ongoing Bridging Success program provided regular support if you had a question or needed something worked out, and the familial support really came from your connection to the Armstrong family. Yeah. That's incredible. And I remember, Bree, that I first met you actually at the Early Start program. So Bree was part of our very first cohort in Early Start, and so that's when I first met her. And then a couple days passed, and I was teaching first-year students social work introduction at that point. And I was teaching a pro-mod class, which is a hands-on learning class for social work students. And so it was year-long. And so it's the first day of class, and lo and behold, who walks in the door?
All bright-eyed.
That's right, very bright-eyed, as you still are. And so I was just thrilled because I was so impressed. As you can see, Brianna stands out in a crowd. And so I saw how special she was already in our Early Start program, and to have her in class for a whole year really created an incredible opportunity to get to know each other. Now, I seem to recall, I want to transition a little bit beyond our services to education and how the academic side of what we do at ASU is also transformational. So when you came and started in class, we talked a little bit about what folks were interested in. Talk about what you first thought you wanted to do in social work.
Dr. Lietz likes to bring up this point because she reminds me how often she was right about this.
Well, I am mostly right, that's true.
So in social work, we have micro and macro practice, and micro is typically direct services one-on-one with people, and macro is all of the policy and program administrative part of social work. And I was very adamant that I was going to work one-on-one with people and in direct services. Forever.
And we were talking about the opportunity to make structural change and advocate and make a difference in the world. And she said, no, I think I'm going to. By the way, I did a lot of work working one-on-one with folks, and that's incredibly valuable, important work. But part of social work is also changing systems to make our society more equitable and prepared to create ecosystems of which people can thrive. So we would have some banter, as we are now, back and forth about this issue. Now, with that said, you were not initially interested and or passionate about macro practice or policy advocacy, but talk a little bit about what you then ended up doing.
So that next year, and actually the next 3 years of my undergraduate degree, I spent a lot of time advocating down at the legislature. So there, as you mentioned, the Senate Bill 1208 was up for sunset, and I started to see that many of these bills were going to impact the people that I was sitting next to in class. They were my friends in the program, they were people that I knew, and so I remember thinking, well, someone should say something about this. Someone should support this. And so my freshman year, I had a few opportunities to get involved in the advocacy work, and so I figured if someone was gonna say something, that and I had the opportunity to do so, I should be the one to give a voice to the people who don't always get to have a voice at the table.
So you got to testify to the state legislature on a couple different bills. How many times did you testify, Brianna?
About 12 times.
12 times. And was your work related to getting a driver's license for foster youth highlighted on the Arizona Republic front page at one point?
It was. No one's face should be that big on a newspaper.
I think it's a lovely picture.
Yeah.
I like it. I seem to recall that you were also interviewed by NPR and that you have co-authored 2 research papers focused on how to improve the educational outcomes for former foster youth. Am I getting it right?
So clearly I didn't just do micro practice.
And clearly you were busy graduating in 3 years rather than 4, starting a graduate program, 2 instead of 1, and might have been the outstanding graduate for our convocation. I'm just mentioning a few things that happened in a 3-year period of time. So as we start to wrap up, I wanted to ask you what you see, because you have accomplished so much. It is truly impressive. What is your greatest accomplishment?
Well, I think that being the first in my family to graduate is a great accomplishment. I'm really proud of the work that I've done in my undergraduate career related to foster youth initiatives. I think can I tell a story? I think that'll help illustrate what the greatest accomplishment is. So my freshman year, I had the opportunity, I was in the Public Service Academy to meet the dean of our college, Dean Coppell, and he sat down when we were first meeting and said, who are you? Are you a first generation student? And I said, yes. And he said, oh, that's amazing, that's wonderful. You're changing the trajectory of your family. And freshman Bree was like, no, I'm not. I'm changing my life. I'm not sure that I'm really changing anything for my family, or, my parents aren't gonna suddenly go to college now. And I don't think I truly understood what he meant. I thought, oh, he's just giving a nice little statement. And I don't know that I fully understood it until about 3 weeks ago when my 17-year-old sister accepted her admission to ASU. So indeed, he was right, as always, Dean Coppell. I think that I spent so much time in the first year being so worried about my sisters, and I had such guilt that I was leaving them, that at 3, her mom that she knew was going off to college, and my 12-year-old sister didn't totally understand why I would choose to leave them. And so I think that seeing the change in that was worth it, right? I think that at the time I thought I was probably changing their lives for the worst. And as of 3 weeks ago, I think I might have changed it for the better.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind, or clearly in the room. Your graduation impacted many people, and I'll be selfish for a moment, but being able to be with you in Bridging Success and teach you freshman year, serving as the thesis director for your Barrett Honors thesis, and seeing you graduate was also an incredibly powerful moment for me. And that's some of what we're talking about here, is that's the gift that I get. And this is the gift that we wanted to give to this group today, to be able to see this is what we get to do. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. So as we wrap up, if you had one final message, Bree, for this group, what would it be?
I think, as I quickly learned my freshman year, is that there's a lot of work to be done in our child welfare system, and there's a lot of kids that we have to get to college. And so I would encourage everyone to think about the ways that they can do that. I think philanthropy is an amazing way to do it, but there's also so many other ways. Being a mentor, being a foster parent yourself, being a CASA, being an advocate, working on legislation. There's lots of ways to make an impact, and I would leave the message that I hope that everybody considers the different opportunities in which they can do that.
That's incredible. Great message, great message. So I want y'all to know that we have over 13,000 children or youth in our foster care system here in Arizona right now. Over 800 will age out, meaning they turn 18, and they are still in the foster care system. They've not been returned to their family or adopted at that point. And over 800 will age out this year. Over the past 5 years, we've had a chance at ASU to have a highly collaborative effort where we've learned a ton, and I hope got to help a lot of students like Bree. But I'm incredibly excited because I feel like we are poised and ready now to move from collaboration to a very coordinated, focused effort. I aspire for ASU to become the premier university that is testing, developing translatable solutions that will help us address this challenging problem. As we figure this out, it will help other students at ASU like Bree, but honestly, we think bigger than that. We'd like to develop something that can be translated across the nation to many other universities that are struggling with this same thing. So as I think about us developing an ecosystem of support that has programs across the university that are coordinated and focused and making a difference, I just get incredibly excited about the opportunity that we have moving forward. We have at this point dramatically increased, back to 5 years ago, the number of former foster youth that are students at ASU. And this year, in year 5, we'll graduate the second cohort of our early start and year-long Bridging Success programs. So we would love to continue to partner with you. If you've got ideas for us, thoughts, we would love for you to support this important effort. As we finish up, I want to again say happy holidays. I hope that you get a window into the gift that I receive each day to work with amazing, inspiring students like this. I hope this holiday season, this leaves you with a gift of hope and encouragement. Thanks so much.